Hi, my name is Wing. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share my story about my coming out experience in 1994, and I'm 48 years old. So this was like 31 years ago when I was still in high school. I always knew that I was gay ever since I was like maybe 13 or 14 years old because I was, as a teenager in high school, I was really interested in the arts, the in fashion, and all the creative things. I didn't like sports or anything like that. I even uh, I even took sewing classes and art classes all throughout high school. And I kind of had a question on the social studies teacher. He got the mustache that kind of looked like Tom Selleck. It was kind of weird. But when I was like 15, 16, and I knew I was like really attracted to him for some reason. So that kind of proves to me that I was not straight. And then there was some physical experience that proved to me that I was sexually attracted to men or aroused by men. Because in the in the high in the high school that I went to, they had a swimming pool, and they also had a jacuzzi, a hot tub. And I remember on a few occasions there were there was this guy. He was probably 30 something, really good looking. He kind of looked like Robert Patrick, that bad guy from Terminator. And I I think that was like my first experience, like physically, with anybody mildly sexually, because he actually groped me under the water in the hot tub, and I was very excited, and I actually liked it, and I was very attracted to him. It was the most nerve-wracking and exciting thing I've ever done, or anybody's done to me when I was like 16 or 17 at the time. But I haven't really met anybody, haven't done anything else other than that until I was probably like 18 or 19. So how did I come out? I didn't plan to come out at all because being Chinese, being in Chinese back then, it was the 90s, early 90s. It was not as easy. Things were not like nowadays. It's so easy to come out, especially being Asian. There's all of the judgment and cultural repression that you face, and from your family, relatives, and some even friends. Because I was secretly trying to understand how to come out or plan to come out maybe when I finished high school or when I finished college, but certainly not before I finished high school. So I just went to there was like a gay community center in the west end of Vancouver. That's where I was living back then, because I lived in Vancouver for about 14 years between 1988 and 2002. And that's where I met some gay people in the gay community in the west end of Vancouver when I was like 16 or 17, and they kind of gave me some guidance and told me what to do and how to deal with family if they ever find out and this and that, or because I wasn't old enough to go to the bars or anything like that. So the activity for being a gay teenager was quite limited back in the early 90s in Vancouver. So I had a couple of gay magazines like that I took and from the community center, and I took it home but I hid it under my bed. Like I didn't think that my family would find out, cause, but I think they always kind of knew. They always kind of suspected that I was gay because I was 17 already. I still never dated a girl. Uh, and I was interested in fashion, and I wasn't totally straight acting. Like I had sort of a semi-feminine mannerism here and there, and that was a giveaway. So they doubted that I was gay. They wanted to prove that to know that I was gay. And so one day they found out by just, searching through my things and in my bedroom, they found the magazines, the gay magazines, and they confronted me. My sisters, my my mom, my dad, even even a couple of my relatives, including my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, came over to the house, and I was like, that day I was like brainwashed by them. I was like told that I was making the worst decision in my life. You're you're gonna People are gonna alienate you. Nobody wants to have anything to do with you. And if you don't change, if you don't turn back to straight, your life is gonna be really hard, and we won't accept you. You will no longer be part of this family. That was kind of what I was dealing with that day. And in a room full of your family and relatives, like almost 10 people took turn telling you, judging you, making you feel like that you have there's something really wrong with you, and that you have to change. I was I was just really traumatized by that day. I I basically I was given two choices. You're either gay or you're straight. If you're gay, you're no longer living in this house. If you're straight, you continue to live in this house. And because even as a teenager, because I was living in a household where we just immigrated to Vancouver from China not very long ago, like in 1988. So even as a teenager, I had to work part time after school and weekends at the restaurant to support my family, to help my parents with the mortgage and this and that. So I wasn't having it easy already, like it was hard already to not like the other Canadian born Chinese where they didn't have to do that. I knew that most of them didn't have to work until they finished university. That was not the case with me. So I guess that day I just didn't know what to do but say, okay, I'll try to change and pretend to be gay. That's what I thought I could do until I finished high school. So that was the plan. I pretended to be straight, and this and I promised that I was not going to associate with any gay people again after that. But I faking it to be straight to please my family so that I could stay at home, so that I wasn't getting kicked out of the house. I I could only do that for about maybe 6 months, and then I was just like, I had all this. I was fighting within myself. I was just like, I can't. I just cannot. I just can't pretend to be straight. And another really bad thing that happened during that time was that two of my so-called best friends in high school, two guys, they also somehow found out that I was gay, and they called me up on the phone, and they were cursing at me like, you fucking faggot, blah blah blah, and that was so awful that, these two guys that I thought they were my best friends for 4 years in high school completely verbally gay bashed me on the phone. And to this day, I I don't know like how I got over that, but it's just like my sometimes I have trust issue with certain straight people. Like I can't be very good friends with certain straight people because what happened to me in high school with my two best friends that treated me that way, and they never talked to me again. And also, to think about it, I didn't want to ever talk to them again, anyways, because the way they treated me like that. So I lost two best friends uh, during my period of supposedly being outed time, and I just thought to myself, the hardest decision I had to make was, can I continue to pretend to be straight so I could stay in the house or not? And then one day I just decided that I can't. I can't. I'm gonna run away. So I pack all my I pack all my things very secretly, and I spent a week trying to look for uh, a room to share in some house somewhere, in East Vancouver that was as affordable as possible. I can't remember how much it cost. I was I lived in that house in a room with a bunch of like hippies or junkie guys and some girls in a big house that has like maybe 5 rooms and shared a kitchen and bathroom. And so that was how I lived for the first 2 months when I went away. My my family, they were devastated and shocked that I didn't change and that I chose the life that they didn't want me to choose. And then two, I couldn't stay in that house much longer than 2 months, so I moved again to another house. This time I moved to this gay man's house that was in also in the East Vancouver. He advertised in the gay newspaper, whatever, that he had a room. He wanted a, a roommate, and the rent was very affordable. So I moved there, and it lasted one month because he was hitting on me. And one night, he actually seduced me when I went clubbing. I was at the time. No, I didn't. This was when I was just turned 18 that I was able to go clubbing, and I was slightly drunk, and then I when I went back to his place, to he was seducing me, and then I was just like, you know what? It's like I wasn't really that attracted to him, but I was also kind of horny or whatever. Uh, and then he tried to top me or whatever, but and I was a total virgin at the time. It didn't happen because it was just too painful. So uh, it was so awkward that that happened, and I basically decided that I couldn't stay there any longer. So I moved again for the third time. Um, I moved to East, somewhere near Broadway, East Van, within that area again, and this wasn't a great neighborhood. I was during that time. It was like a one. I was living in this one bedroom apartment. It's kind of like pretty cheap rent back then, like. But then consider that I was still finishing high school, and also going to work at the restaurant like 3 to 5 shifts a week. trying to make enough money to pay for my rent and whatever living expenses I had to pay for. And that was kind of 1 year, almost 1 year into the time when I had run away and moved out. And it took that long for me to start talking to my family again when they found out where I was living. And I think at that point they just kind of like realized that they couldn't change me, and but they still they still couldn't really accept me. That's the thing. So I moved again from East Vancouver to West End, near Davie Street or Nelson. That's kind of gay central, so to speak, back then. Um, and I was there for another another year in a bed. So I mean, that was then when I was like 19 or 20 years old already, and it was like sort of like the early days of being able to go clubbing very easily and hook up or what have you. But back then we don't call hook up. It's kind of like you have to go to the bar, and you have to go to a bar or go to a gay coffee shop and physically write down your phone number if you're attracted to somebody and say, hey, you want to get together, blah, 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 here's my phone number. That's how it is. This is back in the 90s, you know what I mean? So I kind of was happy that I was living a full-on gay life already back when I was 19 or 20, and I was not at home. I mean, I know that a lot of people that I knew over the years that were gay, they they didn't they didn't have that. They didn't come out until they were like in their mid-20s or something. So my that kind of gave me a lot of early experience as a gay man, young gay man, and to kind of explore the gay community and meet some of the people, and you know that was kind of how I was living, and trying to find a boyfriend. Uh, that was kind of you know another thing that was hard, because sometimes you're so new, and there's people just you're so young, and people just want to take an advantage of you sexually. And the gay scene was kind of so different than what it is now. I mean, nowadays everything is like dating apps. So anyways, I was on my own for about a good 2 years or 2.5 years, and then I was struggling financially, because it's hard to keep up with the rent and the expenses and all that. And my parents just asked me to move back home if I was too broke or not making enough money. And it was. I mean, I was about to. I wanted to go back to school, to college, to study fashion design. That was my goal, my dream. And so I moved back home uh, for a couple years. That was the time when I was studying fashion design part time, and also going to work at the restaurant part time, just to get through that. And but the thing is, even then, I find my parents and my relatives have overcome the homophobia that they had towards me, or that they no longer had any uh, motive to change me. And still, my like my like back my mom still thought that it was still possible to change me. Just because I was moving back home, they were helping me with finances. That doesn't mean that they could ask me to be straight again. But that's what I felt, that they kind of wanted to still change me. So I I was kind of like a little bit torn by that and not sure how I was gonna live my life like that. Uh, so I know that I was only back home temporarily again. So I didn't, as temporary turned into, I think, almost 2 years. And I, I managed to to finish the part-time college fashion design, and I, you know, thought I was going to have a career, and then um, it didn't happen. I thought I was going to have a career in fashion. It didn't happen. And at the time, I I met, I think I was 20, 20, 20, 23. I think I was 22 or 23 anyways, when I met one of my long-term relationship boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. He was a teacher, and he kind of saved me from having to stay at my uh, at my parents' house any longer than I wanted to. So I ended up moving to his house, and then we lasted 3 years. I was living in his house for 3 years. Um, but like, it was kind of a relationship that it was my first long-term relationship, so to speak. I had a couple of short-term boyfriends before that. Uh, it didn't really work out, but this one kind of lasted 3 years somehow, and there was love in that relationship. There was attraction, but I think the sexual chemistry was really lacking. So I think we were kind of both frustrated that that was the case, and so we end up breaking up, and not too long after we broke up, I just realized, I can't move back to my parents' house long term. I did have to move back to my parents' house again, very short term, until uh, until I figure out some plan, and then 2002, I was 26 years old. I packed everything into my car, and I drove across Canada. Had no jobs lined up, um, and I knew I wanted to try a new life in Toronto, so I just drove across Canada and I moved to Toronto at the age of 26 to start all over again, to start fresh. And I remember, I remember my 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 mom was leaving me messages on my phone, and she was crying and sobbing, like, I just, and also my ex at the time, when he found out I was leaving the city and moving to Toronto by myself, he came to say goodbye to me, and he was so sad by that too. Um, I just felt like a lot of things didn't work out for me in Vancouver, so I had to move on, and so here I am. I'm 48. I I have a career that I like. It took a while for me to figure out what I want to do in Toronto. Like the first 3 years I moved here, I still end up waiting tables and doing that on the side and trying to find work in the fashion industry. And then nothing was working for me. No fashion work here in Toronto. And then I ended up working in the film industry. for the last 18 years, almost 20 years now. So I it's been a long journey to I I would say I don't blame my parents for forcing me to be straight. Even nowadays, they still haven't told some of my other relatives in China that I'm gay. They're just like that's why when I when I visit some of the relatives or when they or talk to them on WeChat or whatever, they say, "When where's your wife? How come you don't have a girlfriend?" I mean, and I just tell them I just don't really want to get into that heavy conversation where, listen, I'm gay. I I've been gay all my life, blah blah blah. I didn't want to have that talk with some of the relatives. You know what I mean? Like, so I just tell them, I'm just too focused on my career. I haven't found anybody that I like, blah blah blah. So it's kind of a cultural thing where you know they just don't get it. Like being Chinese and being gay, it's it's so much harder, especially when you came from conservative family. Like, and you won't, like, if you're not even born here, there's so much more cultural barriers that you have to cross. And I don't I'm happy that I'm here in Toronto. I've been living here for the last 22 years now. I mean, it was a very tough decision just to leave Vancouver when I was 26 and had no prospects and had like $5,000 in my account to to live. No job, nothing lined up. And I just I just think that I survived it. I survived my days of being outed and being uh, gay bashed, all of those things, being brainwashed, being told that you're wrong, you shouldn't be gay, all those things, you know, to get through all of that back in the 90s is a lot harder. Nowadays, it's just like people are so much more accepting and it's so much easier. And yeah, that's my story. I mean, I don't know how else to tell it. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments, leave it down for me, and I hope this resonates with you. And if you want to hear more or to watch more upcoming videos, please subscribe. Thank you very much. Take care.